today we are learning. It's actually, I have to say that when something changes, I said this to some people I learned with yesterday, there was a big change in the world this weekend. And I think there's constant change. But right now we are going to be learning the Ilun Nishmas Rabbi Twersky, which is a very strange, it's a very strange thing to be when you change from one thing to the next. But it's also an incredible thing. It's also incredible because the amazing thing is that whatever one gains and whatever one has while you're here in your lifetime, it just continues. And I also saw this with Rabbi Sachs. You know, as soon as when Rabbi Sachs was nifta, everybody was sending out all the beautiful things that you've had and kept and had and whatever over the years. And what's really very beautiful and special is seeing all the different clips from Rabbi Twersky, and certainly when he was a lot younger. And it's actually we have to continue to learn, and we have to learn all the lessons, Boker Tov Gila, and we have to learn all the different lessons. And the challenge of it, really the challenge of it. Just one sec. And when we hopefully at some time we will actually learn the lessons that we are supposed to be learning. The question is how we actually do them. So we're going to try and learn the lessons and do them. And whenever we're able to take anything that we learn and we put it in action into action, when we do that, what actually takes place is that everything that the person who teaches, who brought down, who wrote, who conveys, when that gets put into an action, that actually goes through to the person. So all our learning, which we do and we've been doing, and I actually do say that there's not really a day that goes by when I don't think, oh my gosh, if Dan Loppian were here. Sorry, I put my book on my keyboard and you can't do that because it mutes. So we say, you know, all these people, and we have Dan Loppian's Yotza coming up soon. And it's just like everything that we do, we learn and we just say, you know, it is in the merit. And now to be thinking that this is in the merit of Rabbi Twersky, you know, we can say that when I go to my bookshelf and I seriously have my, you know, I've got my Rabbi Twersky bookshelf. So even what I have is nothing from what he's written, and I don't have everything that I have in one place, but it's one big Billy bookcase plus another side plus more. And that's just one person. Somebody actually said yesterday, and I wanted to verify that they actually just bought what was written as his 90th book. Between what he's written for the Jewish population and what he has written for the non-Jewish population and given. And I think that was so amazing. And I can't see Pat here, but to have been on a cruise where Rabbi Twersky was scholar in residence was absolutely amazing. And it didn't surprise me at all to know that there's a psychiatrists convention on the same cruise, and they would hear about him and want him to speak, because that is how he was known. Amen. That is how he was known. And everybody knew who he was, and it didn't matter where he came, but everybody could learn the lessons of life that really come directly from our Torah. And I think that that's something that when we look at and we recognize, you know, that everything that we have and everything that we do has its source directly in the same guidelines that were given to us while we're standing at Har Sinai, and is applicable and is used till today. And more necessary, even more necessary, and especially at a time like this. And on Sunday, there were three great Gedolim, three great Tzaddikim that went up to the world of MS, the Olam MS. And I said, if we didn't feel the change, morning Claire, morning Bella. If we didn't feel the change, we should have felt the change, because the world was a different place both here and the world was a different place upstairs. And when I spoke to Rebbetzen Zimmerman yesterday morning, she said her brother said this is what happened before World War II. Before World War II, there were a lot of outsadikim that left this world and were taken to Olam HaEmes. And her brother had said this to her, and she said, oh, thanks, so what, we're going hitting for a World War II? Well, don't be surprised, we're in it. Like, why is this any different? It's just a different kind of thing. And really, maybe, we should be singing and dancing every single day, saying, because where to now? There's only one place. There's only one place from here, and that's with Mashiach and getting back to Yerushalayim. And I thought of all people who could go and fight on our behalf at the Kisei HaKavod and go to Hashem and say, listen, I know what I'm talking about. I'm a psychiatrist. I ran one of the top 5 rehabilitation centers in the United States of America. I've been around for a long time. I watched all of this. I see all the emotional pain. I see the challenges. Come on, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Enough. Just say, Mashiach, they're not going to change. They can't. They're trying, and they want to. They are desperate to be able to change. But it's tough, and there's too much around. So, you know what? They just need this place of final push. So I was looking for something that I have a lovely person, lovely lady, young lady, who helps me and posts things on my social media. Why? Because it's good to have things on social media, because they're things that hopefully somebody will learn from seeing things. And I have to tell you, I've had a couple of interesting questions, and I should actually remember and thank her straight away to tell her that I've had people that have said, oh, I saw your post. One person phoned and she said, I saw your pictures on your Shabbos table with your challahs. I think I might have told you this last week already. And I decided I sit by myself Shabbos. So now I put the pictures of people that I want to be at my Shabbos table. I didn't have the heart to tell her afterwards that they're only there for the pictures, and then I put them back on the side. Okay. So this is what we do. Okay. And then it was actually quite interesting. But I had somebody else who phoned me and said the same thing. And I was like, whoa, how does that, such an amazing thing, that the people that we want, and this is a beautiful lesson that we can learn. Good morning, Miriam Meir, and good morning, Arthur. I don't know who it is yet. And that's what it is. Because anybody and everybody that we want with us, we bring to our place and to our table. And that's why when we learn something and we see what Rabbi Twersky, the gift that he's given us, and I like sometimes think to myself, how is it that Hashem gives a person the gift of just knowing what to put where? Everything that Rabbi Twersky left now is something that we have to recognize. I mean, we need it every day. Every person needs encouragement. Morning, Annie. Needs encouragement every single day. We all think, how do we get through the day? How do we get through a day? And we get to the end of the day, and there are all these different things. And morning, Karen. And there was somebody in our community here in Hendon, was nifta last night, and a man in his 50s. And I needed to ask somebody from Rabbi Zobin's community, and I needed to ask Rabbi Zobin something. And I messaged him, and I said, I feel terrible messaging you about this. But then I realized that actually the question that I needed to ask him is just as important as what he was doing, because it was affecting another person's life. And I'm thinking to myself, you can all say, and all of us can say, just heard the news, yeah. So in this really, Le'ilu Nishmas, we can learn, for Benji. I don't know what Benji is. I'm presuming he's a Benjamin Ben, and I don't know Benji Steinbach. But we
I've got his Hebrew name if you want.
Yes, please.
Benjamin Akiva Ben Shlomo.
Okay, so Benjamin Akiva Ben Shlomo should have an Aliyah and a Shamas.
Thank you.
And, when you see things like this, we're kind of like, okay, now what, right? So I was talking to one of my friends, morning, Laura. I was talking to one of my friends who is a doctor. And she gets a little bit upset about people and things. I said, what are you getting upset about? Oh, they have to tell them, they have to learn, they have to cheat. I said, hang on a second. When you want to teach something to somebody, we want to teach somebody that's willing to learn. And when you want to teach somebody who says, I don't need to know this, they're not going to hear it anyway. And I said, and the mashal goes exactly like with Torah. Exactly the same. We can teach and teach and teach, and you can give and offer and whatever. When somebody doesn't want to learn it, they're never going to hear it. They don't want to hear it because either that it's too hard, or the change of lifestyle is too intense, or whatever it is, or actually they don't want to set themselves up for failure. So if they say they're going to do something and then they don't, they feel that it's a failure. And really what we need to be able to look at and to see is that Hashem has given every single one of us the ability to do whatever we need to do. So I say, so to scream and shout at all those people that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, it's not going to help us. And I laughed. I said to her, so you know what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you that what I'm doing is great. I'm not trying to convince anybody. Aisha told me that somewhere near here has a hall. I said, downstairs. I said, okay. So what do you want me to do? Go and stand there with a placard and go and shout and scream? They're not going to listen to me anyway. I said, one thing I can do that I know that I can do is that I can daven and I can learn. And I said, and out of my room, I told my friend that her picture is very famous on the back of my wall because it's been seen at least 6,000 times, 5,500, 6,000 times on every time that we've had people. Just what we've managed to kind of document, from this tiny little dining room, which isn't such a tiny little dining room, it's a beautiful, wonderful dining room, okay? From this dining room, literally we've shared all sorts of different kinds of Torah and Simcha and all the different things. Good morning, Sharon. And we share it from here. And it's probably gone to, in our space of people, over 5,500 people is what we've documented. So they're more because it gets shared afterwards and it goes out, right? So besides who was with us, even Rebbetzen, Slavi Wolf last week, we've had another 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 people, and then it gets passed on and we don't know. So we actually don't know. So last night, I saw something stunning. I saw an advert that was put out that there are a whole bunch of shops, all in Stanford Hill. And the advert reads, as of, dear customers, as of immediate effect, you're not welcome basically in our shop unless you come in with a mask. And there's the whole list of all the shops and food places and everything in Stanford Hill. And I sent her this thing, and it says, and if you are exempt, you have to have your exemption badge or be wearing one of the plastic shields, and the exemption badge has to be clearly marked. And I said, so you see, I sent her this notice. It was very late last night, so she only got it early this morning. It was early this morning. She got it later this morning. And she says, well, they can print off the papers from the computer. I said, they don't know what a computer is. They don't have computers. They don't have TV. They don't know. That's why they don't know all these things. Just start giving benefit of the doubt. Just let us, wherever it comes from. I said, but look what my learning did. I'm telling you about all the hours that all my wonderful ladies have been learning and all people reaching out from every area in the world and every side of our Jewish world. And in fact, last week, somebody phoned to ask who's a Noahite, and she wanted to know if I mind if she sits with her screen turned off listening. She says, I'm not Jewish. I'm a Noahite, but I want to hear what the Torah teaches. And I was like, you know what? Bavakasha. If you can learn something that encourages you to be a better Noahite, then why not? So I said, but look what's happened. And that's just because of our hours of learning. And I said, and that's what we have to look at. We have to remind ourselves that every tiny little thing that we do comes from a place that Hashem knows every single action, and He's looking for the good. He's literally searching and looking in every single one of us. And when we show that good side, He loves that. And you know who feels better about it? We automatically feel better about it because we can put in a bit of positivity. And there's lots of stuff. My sister's nephew in Edgware just came out of Barnet Hospital last night. Baruch Hashem, he was released after being, it's a young guy in his 30s. He was on oxygen. Should have a refuah shalema for also, I'm going to say it publicly, but whatever. Okay. Another friend of mine's husband's been really not well. And thank God he hasn't had to go into hospital, but they had to call Hatzalah yesterday morning. And Emetz Hashem, he's changed as of today. This morning, she said he's really doing better. So our battle that we can do is to be able to take the things that Rabbi Tursky says, Viva Simcha, utilize every little bit of our lobster in us, of the soft vulnerability of who we are, and remind ourselves that every time we move from one place to the next, it's a place of growth. It's a place of growth. So last night, or 2 days ago, somebody who is very disconnected from her Judaism, for different reasons as well, but not really. Anyway, we've had what to do with each other over the last couple of years, and she sends me a message. Her son in year 6 at a Jewish school in London has got to do a Dvar Torah on Friday about this week's parsha. And I'm like, great, can I help? And she's so embarrassed to call to ask me to help because she never calls me either way. So I sent her a summary of the parsha. I sent her a beautiful idea that I thought that a year 6 kid would understand, because in year 6, they start learning what is leadership. Because you know what, in year 6, they're the big wigs of the school. They're the big deals, you know. So they've already understood what it means to be the examples of the school and the leaders for good or not so good. And I sent him a beautiful little idea of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs and an idea from Rabbi Tursky. And I'm discussing this with the mother so she can talk her son through it and he can choose what he would like. And then she says to me, do you believe in spirituality? I believe in spirituality. Like, of course I believe in spirituality. No. I mean, like, and then I'm listening in the voice and I'm saying, you mean like spirits? And she's, yeah. I said, you mean like bringing a person's neshama, their soul, back up to talk to you? And she says, yes. Now, how did I know that that's what she's thinking? Because she lost her sister to cancer a couple of years, last year. And it's a struggle. It's very hard. It's hard for anybody. And yesterday was her nephew's 21st birthday without his mother, so she wanted to make a big deal. And she knows somebody who does this. And she was asking basically for permission to go and do this. And I said, you know, I want to talk to you about spirituality, but we can't just do this in 5 minutes, but we're going to stop. We're going to stop. And then she says to me, and just by the way, I've lost 2 jobs now during COVID because the companies that I was working for didn't need me anymore. And I really need a job. So if you need anybody. So I said, have you heard of Work Avenue? I've already put her in touch with 2 places. Let's see, whatever it was. But I actually felt that there was a way that getting the Dvar Torah from me wasn't about the Dvar Torah. She needed the rest of it. We spent quite a while on the telephone last night. And I said, listen, you know, when we talk about what it means to rest in peace, that means to leave those neshamas. What can you do when we're here? I gave her a whole lot of things. I said, it's a tzedakah box with 1 penny a day. Put your sister's picture next to it. Connect to that, right? Find these places. So I said, you know what you can do? So when it comes now to your Shabbos, light your candles before Shabbos. And sit with your candles your 20 minutes. I'm not going to ask you anything after that, but sit with your candles. And she's coming now to borrow Rabbi Tursky's book on spirituality. And I thought to myself, Hashem, you're amazing. Just think of how Hashem orchestrates things and put things into our minds. But the choice is how we take the things that are given to us, how we take those choices and use them for a thing that says, do good. We all want to be good people. We all want to be happy. Right? Anybody here on the screen not want to be happy? But then we've got to define and find out what it means to be happy. And then we just go straight into Pirkei Avot and we look, Ezehu asher samech b'chelko. A person who is happy with what he has. And we all have different things. And when it's not about the physicalities of what we have, it's about me. What do I have? What has Hashem given me that I can use in my way and my place and my space? Whoever I can share with and connect with and give to. And I always find it absolutely amazing. And then I recognize and I say, yesterday we were talking about something also in this class, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's have a look where we are. Right? And then I wanted to finish off with something from Rabbi Tursky, special from Rabbi Tursky, and I read it, and actually it was really the wrong day. I thought it was actually the 19th of Shvat, and I did it on the 20th of Shvat. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Why do you get surprised that something's so relevant to what it is that you're talking about? Why do you get surprised that it's relevant to somebody's question that they just asked through the thing? And then I said, I'm sitting here and I actually was laughing. I'm reading it and I'm looking and I'm thinking, Joanne, don't be stupid. Everything's relevant. There is nothing that we see, that we're given, that we're taught in Torah that is not going to have relevance to who and where we are today. Something's more relevant. But everything has relevance. Why? Because what we look at and what we see is we find what the Torah teaches us and we put it into our lives. And if that's how we guide it, then just imagine having that. I was reminding myself yesterday of two different things that happened when we were blessed to have Rabbi Tursky here. And the one was, we're just relaxing here on the couch. And I think I asked Rabbi Tursky, what's the youngest age he could take himself sort of back to? And he sort of went into a bit of a comfortable position. And a few minutes later, he sort of sat up. He's probably about 3, age 3. I was like, oh, I'd like to be able to do that. And I still sort of think I'd like to be able to do that. But when do I give myself that real focus, concentration place to be able to do it? We can all do it. No. And then another time when he was coming in, he had been out most of the day, and I was helping somebody with something for a few years already. And I thought, I'm not letting Rabbi Tursky go upstairs until I have at least an answer, because it's been busy and and I just needed it for me. It wasn't even for the girl. And I quickly told her, I said, I'm so sorry. I know you're tired. I know you've got to get up to bed. I asked him the question, and literally like this, in whatever, he says, I'm not matzliach in that sort of area. I haven't had much success in working with people in what you're describing. And just like this told me sort of off the cuff what he figured and what he felt that it was, what I told him in that short amount of time. The truth is, that probably has been one of the most helpful conversations that I'd had, because there was so much learned in that concise little space. And many times I would send sometimes an email with an entire page of a question and I'd get 3 lines back. But it summed up everything. And there was nothing that ever didn't help us that came through Torah. And that was what the beauty and the humility with the way he dealt with it and with the way he was. Because honestly, his accomplishments are enough to give anybody a feeling of, oh, look what I've done. And there was never that. It was never that. He didn't want any hispadim said about him. Leave it. just take me to my resting place in a way that we count every Jew. Morning, Edna. That's how we do it. Because every single Jew was important to him.
Good morning.
Every single Jew was important to him. And you knew it and you felt it. And that's what we have to see and that's what we have to feel. So for anybody that was with me yesterday, we're going to do a little bit of Chazara. We're going to do a little bit of thing because I think it's such an important concept that we understand, and it's such a beautiful thing that he has taught us and teaching us. And you know, when we say, I said yesterday, it was our granddaughter's third birthday, one of them, well, the one that's 3 birthday yesterday. So we went from a bat mitzvah to a birthday, and Baruch Hashem, we carry on. We have an anniversary this month. My son-in-law has a birthday. We've got lots going on, Baruch Hashem. So, but for the 3-year-old, you've got to make something cute. And so we were invited for cutting of the cake at 4:30. And I've got a new way. My mother, I have a thing with all the grandchildren. My mother gives them a little bit of money. And I couldn't find a birthday card with the last birthday. And I suddenly saw on my table, I had this big, beautiful pink balloon. So I rolled up the 10-pound note and I stuck it into the balloon and I blew up the balloon and I wrote on the balloon with love, David and Granny. And that's the birthday card and they get the money like that. So my first granddaughter got it a few months ago. So when I took it to this one, she was so excited. She's holding her balloon and I gave it to the bat mitzvah girl also on Sunday, but I had 2 because it was 12. Right, and it was actually this thing. So we were freezing outside. Oh, I don't know. It was just very cold. It was 4:30 in the afternoon, and it was us and the blitzers, in the garden, having the birthday cake, or blowing out the candles and the birthday cake, and the excitement. And it's such a beautiful thing because you could see what's the difference, right? A birthday party was made. The kid gets as much excitement and thing as if they're 20 of her friends. She doesn't care. So many times we go overboard and we do things that, who cares? Our granddaughter on Sunday night, we had immediate family only. But she was dressed beautifully and her hair was done and she had little makeup on and my daughter had ordered balloons and the person who does the balloons phoned her and said, listen, I've got this huge, it's like more than double the size, but I can fix it up and personalize it and it will cost you less. And here this little girl's got this whole arch that she's sitting in and she felt like so special. And what was so special also, we finished learning through the entire book of Pirkei Avos. That was what she did to finally finish for her bat mitzvah. So I said to her after, I said, okay, we're starting again. I said, should we give it a break for a few days? Or do you want to start? No, I want to start again. So now we've got 2 granddaughters and a couple of students. And it's an amazing thing. And we think if we put this into our children and we help them to recognize and we make them feel special and we make them feel beautiful, you don't need everything else that comes with it. And really, it does take the stress. And I have to tell you something. I wish I'm not going to get up and show you, but my daughter, Bli Ein Hara, right, made these 3 little cakes. Everything was just stunningly beautiful, done perfectly. I take everything, shove it into a box, whatever. Perfection. She makes macarons that are just like, oh my goodness. Okay. She makes meringues, little pink meringues that are to perfection. And it made everybody feel special about it. We don't have to do more. We've got to learn to find out what we can grow with that actually takes and does less. So Rabbi Twersky says, and we're talking about all things that we need to learn about ourselves. And he brings down from Shir HaShirim. You know, every time I think about anything, I think to myself, when am I ever going to have enough time to get through the whole of Tanakh, to get through Shir HaShirim? At least we're going through Tehillim and we're going through daily things. And we're doing Shema Salashon and we're learning Shabbat things. I'm thinking, and it doesn't end. There is so much. And the beauty of our Torah, you know, Nishmas. You say Nishmas, but you can learn Nishmas for the next 10 years and not get everything out of it. Right? All the things that Hashem has given us that fill our lives. And we've got to look for the tiniest little things and say, we learn through Perek Gimel. For people that are, when we're having a hard time, and of Tehillim with Rebbetzen Silver, pick it up any time of the day. Just say it. Take something which is special to you and just hold on and say, Hashem, I know you're there. I know he's there. I know. But I've got to remind myself. I've got to remind myself. And when we know we've gone through pain and challenge and difficulties, and everybody's had their own. But sometimes I look at people and I don't know. I really don't know. I think like, Hashem, that's not a fair deal. And then I think actually most things aren't fair deals. But when it comes to us, our deal is that Hashem saying, just look at what I'm giving you. Don't look at what you don't. Look at what we give. And a voice from heaven proclaimed, it says in Shir HaShirim, that there is one among you who is deserving of divine spirit. There's one person amongst all of us, and we know that we have 36 the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, the 36 Tzadikim that are hidden in this world. Although everybody's always got the idea of who the hidden Tzadik is, okay? And we probably don't even know, and we're probably all wrong, and God is probably laughing at us and thinking, ha ha ha, you think it's that big Talmid Chacham. I want to tell you that it's somebody totally different. And we'll only know when we get to the Olam HaEmes or when Mashiach comes. So there is one among you who is deserving of the divine spirit, of the Shekhinah. Remind yourself of the beautiful word of Shekhinah. That is Hashem's presence. And the same way that we can have a picture, and I actually need to share with you some of my pictures that my friend Anita has done. And I've told her now she started selling them. And somebody messaged us from Facebook and they said they saw that picture of Rabbi Twersky and where can they buy it from? Okay. And I have to tell you, because I have Rebbetzen Kanievsky smiling at me all day. I sit here. I've got the Chofetz Chaim, I've got Rebbetzen Kanievsky, I've got Dan Gershon Lopian, and I have Rabbi Twersky. And they're all looking at me and talking to me all day. Can you imagine a nicer thing? And just behind them is an entire wall of the Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, everything that I don't know, but it's here. And I want it here because that's what we fill our lives with. And we have to remind ourselves that when we want to bring something in, it's there. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, is only there when you bring it here. Okay? It's only there when you bring it here. And we work on it. And he says, and it says in Shir HaShirim, so Shlomo HaMelech teaches us, and he says, but his generation is not deserving of it. Okay? So there's a person who's here in this world, and Hashem is sustaining the entire world because of these people, but the rest of them actually aren't deserving. So it's somebody said, yes, so this I was going to tell you also, somebody said, when I said Rabbi Twersky says, and the person said, and then no, Rabbi Twersky says. He might have said it then, but he's talking to us now. He might not be here in the world, but he's teaching us, and it is as relevant now, and it is. Rabbi Twersky is saying, okay? And that's how we live, because we live and use the lessons. So, interesting, Rabbi Twersky says that we often complain that we lack personalities as great as the leaders of the previous generations. Okay? I mean, when I rethought this through yesterday, I'm like sitting here and I'm thinking like, really? The fact that the world continues to run with the leaders of the of countries, physical countries, is more than any miracle, right? When you read about, and now the video that's gone viral about Putin's world hidden that nobody knew about, how is it possible that a person who is running the country, right, is such a dictator? And this was going from communism to what? To dictatorship. And when you look at the United States of America, this is the woe of all woes. And we look where we are and we think, oh my goodness. And we look at North Korea. And we just have to sit there and think like, how is this world continuing? And you know why it's continuing? Because there's some tzaddikim, holy people, righteous people in the world that are living such holy ways of life that is why our world continues to survive. Amazing. So we'll say that there aren't personalities, and Rabbi Twersky says there aren't personalities as great as the leaders of previous generations. And we may prefer not to realize that the opposite is also true. The leaders cannot be totally disproportionate to their generation. And that is if we do not have the caliber of leaders of previous generations, then it is our fault. Get it? Because if we don't demand the right things from our generation, from our leaders, because we don't want our leaders to lead us in the right way, then really it's about us. And he says like this, the fault is probably ours. And the Gemara comes and tells us that even Moshe was demoted when the Israelites sinned. Okay? So even Moshe Rabbeinu, he was taken down of his greatness. Why? Because his greatness as a leader was dependent on the people that were following him. If you teach and you lead and people want to learn and follow and then they want to do more and better, that's the leader. That's the person that people want to follow and say, because of you, we want to do better. We want to become stronger. We want to bring more Shekhinah into the world. And they depended on Moshe. And the Baal Shem Tov comes and says a beautiful, beautiful thing. He explained that a leader is like someone who can reach a high place only because he is standing on the shoulders of others. Even Moshe Rabbeinu owed part of his own personal greatness to the people who he was teaching and who he was devoted to. So when they behaved in a way that they shouldn't have, and they go and they get them want to build a calf, what happens to Moshe? Moshe loses part of where he's supposed to be. Why? Because they weren't ready to move up a grade. And it was because of them, it was because of the people that Moshe suffers that as well. People who could be outstanding leaders never get to fulfill their potential because no one wants to receive their message and be guided by them. Anybody know any people like that? Always people like that. We all know. Lots of people like that. Okay. And we say, just as a nursing mother, Rabbi Twersky says, will soon lose her supply of milk if the infant refuses to nurse, so can the potential of a great leader be stifled if no one will accept their teachings. On the other hand, when people demand that their leaders teach them, the leaders must rise to the occasion and therefore they gain stature. And Rabbi Twersky brings down a very easily understandable example. And he says, in a congregation, in a shul congregation, where people want to learn and they demand of the rabbi and the Rebbetzen to teach more, the shul is going to grow. The people in the shul become bigger. And with their greatness, so the teachers also expand and become bigger. But if they're happy just to come to shul and listen to the 10-minute sermon and really not listen, but sit, I remember Friday nights in shul, that was the time the rabbi got up to speak, As soon as the rabbi got up to speak, you watched a good few rows of men, because we're upstairs and downstairs. And do you know what they used to do? That was it. I remember that look. I remember that thing. And you used to watch. And I used to say, this poor rabbi, he gets up to speak because he walks from his one side of the shul to the other, because that's protocol. Do we go to where the rabbi speaks from? And he stands up to speak, and he knows his customers, and he looks and he'd laugh. And there they were, and he'd say, have a shlof, you've got 10 minutes. Right? Or it's like the story, the joke that we tell about the rabbi who prepares his drosha on the way to shul. Right? But he doesn't live next door. He lives a half an hour walk. So he comes, his share is going to be half an hour, right? But it's about the people that want to learn. It's about expanding and making and helping people to learn. I know people who are in shuls. I know people who are in places and there's nobody that wants to learn. And it doesn't matter how many times they can have 10 shirim a week, they can have 10 things and whatever. But actually, and if there's one or two people, great. But we see that we have to change that. And it's not about the ability and the capability of the person who's able to give and to teach and encourage and do and grow. If you don't have the people there to listen, you can't do anything. And this is what happens. And we see this happen. We see this happen a lot. When we see our Nevi'im, and if we go through some of the prophets where they came and they begged and cried and asked the people and they told them what's going to happen. Can you imagine somebody coming to us? Well, what do you think's happening now? So they're not coming as Nevi'im because we don't have prophecy anymore. But the world is coming and saying, look what's going on. Have we not seen? What do we think we're doing? We're a year into this, an entire year. In a year, it should not take us a year to make big changes. A big change is seeing something and hearing something today and then next week changing it. Or today. Because what we put off today, we're not going to do. Today, I'm going to make a commitment. Today, I'm going to make something, and Rabbi Toysky says, I'm going to examine whether I fully utilize the people who could be my mentors and whether I am willing to accept what they're teaching and telling me. How many times do we go somewhere and we listen to someone and we listen to a brilliant talk? And what was the talk about? Take one thing home. Imagine after every single time we do something, we take one thing, we put it into action. One. Just one thing, and we change it. And we say, this is what's going to be different. And I'm going to work on making that difference from now. And I'm going to work on trying to get that so that I can do that today. And we don't set ourselves up for failure. No. We don't set ourselves up for failure. But we want to do things that are going to make Hashem recognize I'm doing better. I'm trying hard. I want to make sure that I've got an extra few minutes today. I'm going to take 3 minutes in my day. I'm going to put on music. I'm going to dance around the house or your table or on your seat. I'm going to look up and I'm going to say, Hashem, thank you. And I'm going to be so happy just for those moments and just see what it feels like. Just see what it feels like. Forget there's nobody to watch you. Sing and dance. You can sing. If you can't, nobody can hear anyway. And if your neighbor comes knocking on the door and says, are you okay? What's wrong? You say, I'm happy. Say, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I thought I heard that screeching. Okay, but what do we have to do? We've got to turn that in and to make and say, I'm going to make this as a difference. I'm going to do something different. Can you imagine how many days ago Tu B'Shvat? Anybody remember what Tu B'Shvat was? Remember? Do you know when Tu B'Shvat was? Oh my gosh, it was ages ago. It was only a few days ago. Okay? You remember? All the wine, all the fruits. 4 days. Is it 4 or 5? We'll say Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday. You know, come on, give us an extra day. Let's say ages ago. Okay? Can you imagine? We sat there. We just reveled in this amazing thing. Look what each fruit looks like. And somebody said to me, but you know that I think I'm learning about, I've been doing this course on mindfulness. And I think maybe mindfulness sort of fits in with Torah. And I said, I forget it. I'm glad that it's taken you all this time to actually realize. Mindfulness comes from Torah. Everything that we have, the things comes from the place and space of saying, where are we? And you know what? We have the ability to do all the things that Hashem says, even for little moments, even when things are so hard. And what's the hardest thing? You know, people say that when they're really going through a real challenge, they feel Hashem right next to them. So their closeness with Hashem that they experience in that time of total need, you can't actually bring back when you don't need it as much. So we have to make it a need. We have to create it to be a need. We've got to remind ourselves at every single moment. You know, and stop looking at everybody else. I keep thinking that anybody asks something and they say, what about these and what about those? I say, you know what? I can't answer for them. I can't answer for them. But I can answer for myself. I can answer for myself. And my answer has to be for myself to make sure that I'm doing exactly this. That I am making myself into being the one who is deserving of the divine spirit. That we all have to make each and every one of us deserving of Hashem's closeness. And it's something that we've got to work on and bring in. I want Hashem with me the same way that I want my Chafetz Chaim and Rebbetzen and Dan Lopian and Rabbi Tversky. I want them with me, so they're here. I want my grandchildren with them, they're here. Right? I want my late father with me, he's here. I want this with me, they're here. We bring everything in. Whoever you want, you bring. And that means if we want Hashem in our world and our lives, we bring him in. And we talk to him and we say, thank you. And we say, okay, Hashem, what now? Really? You really want me to do that? I can't do that. It's much too hard. Don't be so demanding. And he says, try it. And actually, when we push ourselves beyond what we think we can do, we actually see that there are things that we can do. We see that there are things that we can do that we didn't ever think we were possibly able to do. And sometimes when we say that to Hashem, we see things that are beyond. And I've been sharing the story about my friend whose father was given a chesed by somebody 48 years ago. She's one of those lucky people that has had the story told back to her that when her father passed away already over 30 years ago, but there was somebody that did a chesed for her father and he passed away. And they needed help from somebody to get his body to a certain place. They could do the tahara quickly, and it was in America, to do the tahara quickly and to get him buried quickly, and they just could take obviously a minyan. And the only place in America that everything seems to be sort of normal is Orlando, Miami, Florida. So if anybody's planning on going there, you can make a wedding there, but things are very expensive and it's very difficult to find places to stay. I can tell you that much because I just had somebody on the phone who's staying with my niece and nephew, and they said they just don't know what else to do because everything's so expensive. And my nephew told me that they get calls just about every day to find out if they want to rent out their house. I mean, like, where do you want us to stay if you want to rent our house? Like, hello, you know, it's like these stupid questions that we do. But we see that we can stretch ourselves, right? And then we take ourselves and say, we can do more. We can do more. And we ask Hashem that he's going to help us to take every place forward. And then we're going to say, we're going to do more. So my friend's father, 48 years ago, he had a chesed done for him. And somebody had passed away who had, Baruch Hashem, a lot of money. But the only thing they couldn't pay for was to get somebody to come to help to take the body to the burial place. And they called a certain person. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. The story was told by the rabbi. And this happened 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks by now. Amazing thing. And the cousin, he calls at 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody who he knows, and he happens to be a cousin of my friend's late father. And the man says, because of who it is, it needs to be done. I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to come and I'm going to do what you're asking me, but only because 48 years ago, he helped my cousin. Can you imagine such a thing? 48 years ago, this man did a chesed for my cousin, and because of that, I'm going to go and help him. Okay? So I can tell you there's certain things that money can't buy. And this was one of them. Money could not buy. Now, this man gave millions of pounds, dollars, rands, everything all over the world in different places. And yet, if we imagine the heavenly courts, you imagine the based in and him standing there, and he's saying, well, I gave $1 million here, I gave $1 million there, I gave $1 million. And they're looking at him and saying, so what? So what? God gave you that money. What do you think you were supposed to do with it? You were supposed to give it. God gave you that money. You're supposed to give it. I don't care. That's no big deal. Big deal. And he's like looking around and said, what else did I do? And then suddenly, somebody who's going to take his body to be buried comes and says, do you know what this man did? 48 years ago, he helped my cousin. And he did such a chesed for him that it really gave him a totally different life. And the judge looks and he says, aha. And that wasn't in the newspapers. And that wasn't printed on the outside of his house, donated by, you know what? That was a proper, true chesed that you did from your heart pass through. You're welcome into the world of truth. To me, to hear that, we've got to understand Hashem is busy day and night. Nothing happens. Remember the things. It's not bad to remember things that we did for people we never expected anything back from. It's not bad to remind ourselves to thank us, to thank other people for things that they did for you that you didn't think was such a big deal. Ah, big deal. They do this all the time. Actually, big deal. Because yours might have been the one chesed that was done and given to you that was that actual proper chesed that really pushed their button. And that was the gift. And I said to my friend, do you understand what a gift you've been given? You've been given this gift to know this. You should be keeping Shabbos and everything this week, knowing what Hashem has actually done. And I said, there you go. Your father, 30 years, has been in the world of truth. 30 years. And he's now coming and he's doing something for somebody that money can't buy. And let me tell you something. Smiling at somebody, phoning someone, doing something kind for somebody. Money can't buy those things. Giving of your time. Money can't buy these things. It's the things that Hashem is saying, let's learn, let's do, let's see what we can do. Because even when we think, I can't, there's something that I can. And that is huge. And I want you to know something, that neither of these families were places of people that were shomer mitzvahs, kept mitzvahs. In fact, I had a good laugh. We did a little bit of reminiscing with my friend of when we were much younger, so 48 years ago, okay, around that time. So I was quite young then, and we remember such funny things about the family and even about this man. You know, we remember and today he has 2 out of his 3 kids are shomer mitzvahs and religious in totally different areas and places, and one in Cape Town, one in America, but they're growing and they're doing Torah things. Those are the things that one can't ever lose. When we look and we say, okay, you know what? Who am I? What am I? And how am I doing this? You know how I'm doing this? because I'm looking into the Torah. I'm saying, what does the Torah teach me? How is the Torah going to teach me to become the best that I'm going to be able to be? And each and every one of us is a very different way of doing it and looking at it. And I'm going to just read this again, and I haven't done this with you for a long time, but I do this with bat mitzvah groups. And I'm going to show you a little thing before we leave off, because it's such an important place and thing in our lives. And I think something that Rabbi Tversky would also be very proud of, and it also goes in the Zechus of Rav Shlomo Wolbe, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. And Rav Shlomo Wolbe has a beautiful thing that he writes, and listen carefully. Every person must realize, every person must realize, I, with all my abilities, potentials, and talents, both physical and spiritual, okay, am unique in this universe, okay? Even identical twins, okay, are not identical. Amongst all those alive today, there is no other me, and until the end of time, there will be no other me. In past generations too, there was no other me, and until the end of time, there will be no other me. And if so, Master of the universe, the Master of the universe has sent me here on a very special mission that could be fulfilled by no one else but me, with all my uniqueness. Okay, that's written by Rav Shlomo Wolbe. Now, everybody said that themselves. And each of us understands that we're unique in whichever way and whatever way it is. Okay? And that is real. So with our bat mitzvah girls, we make them, they then make a little bracelet with their names on it. So imagine your name, and I say to you, here's a pretty little box. Okay, it's a pretty pink box. I hope you can all see my pretty pink box. Okay? And they're going to put their bracelets in their pretty pink box. And then I tell them, well, here's the cover of the box with a little verse on it, okay? And now I want them to pick up the box, and I'm told them, and imagine this, that inside this box, there's a picture of someone very, very special, okay? And I want you to look carefully at that picture, and I want you to then think about a word, or maybe a couple of words, that describes this person that you have the picture of in your box. I want you to describe a couple of words of their uniqueness, their special qualities. And then I say to them, okay, you ready? We're going to all open our boxes, and you're going to look at the picture of the person that you have. Okay, you ready to see the picture of the person? Ready? Can you see what it is? It's a mirror. It's a mirror, okay? And what we have to remind ourselves, and you know, every single day, you remember what Dr. Edith Eger said? Get up, look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're great, you're beautiful. And I say, you know what? When we wake up in the morning and we say, Moide ani lefanecha, thank you, Hashem, for waking me up. So maybe don't look too closely in the mirror, but just look from afar, okay, depending if you've put in a bit of makeup or you've woken up, whichever way you feel you've woken up, okay? Or get some Clarence on cream the night before to make sure that your skin is looking beautiful when you wake up in the morning, right, Sharon? You get the Clarence on and your little bit of cover up, okay? Not you, Sharon, me, okay? We put a little bit of cover up, and then we look in the mirror and we say, Hashem, what would you want from me today? And you know what then we say? What would you like from you today? What do I want from you today? How do I want to feel today? How do I want to be able to go to bed tonight and write down all the things that I've done and accomplished, and thank Hashem thank Him for all the things that He's given us. Because you know what? Today's today. Today's today. And each and every one of us have our job. And each and every one of us have our uniqueness. And if I have to share with you, even I don't know, like, you know, I can't make the cakes that Sarah Greenfield makes. I can just about ice a cake that looks like it's straight. So you know what I do? My icing, I make sure that I put icing that I can put sprinkles or something on. So you can't see. Okay. I can't even get 2 cupcakes the same size. Right. I was talking to somebody last night telling her that I send out for the girls for their bat mitzvah programs little chocolate chip homemade cookies in a cellophane thing. I said, the thing is that it's very funny because you always see how uneven my cookies are. So she said, well, you can just roll balls. I said, no, darling, I use a melon scoop. So she said, well, that should make them all equal. I said, even using my melon scoop, I can't get them equal. It's okay. I'm happy with putting my chocolate chip cookies into a bag uneven. It doesn't bother me. I can tell you my daughter could not even send 2 things together that are the wrong size. Okay, that tiny little thing. She couldn't do that. We all have our different things. Okay, and I'm telling you, we have different things to share as people. And every day we can do something that we can get to the end of the day and say, I did something new. Hashem, you need me here. I'm here because of you. I'm doing what I want. I'm bringing you into my home. I don't really have to even like look up and out because you're here with me. I feel you. I feel you here. And you know, that is the thing. That we talk about Hashem as Hamakom. He's here. He's the space. He's the place. He's wherever you want Him to be. He's with you. He's with you when you look at the sunset. He's with you when you look at the moon. He's with you when you look at the snow, Debbie. Can you imagine? That snow. Like, how? How does He do it? I don't know. You know, I would listen to something from Rebbetzen, Hella Gottlieb yesterday, and I was laughing because she's just funny when she speaks, because I just love it. Like, she cracks up at her own jokes and the things that she thinks are funny. She just laughs along with it, you know, sort of like you waiting for the pause of the audience. No, she just laughs along with you. So apparently there are 200 million stars or something in the universe that have disappeared. They've gone. They can't find them anymore. And she's like, what are these scientists things? Like, where's the God? Were they there? Like, who says they're there? Like, what, your telescopes, you're telling us that? Come on. Why are you wasting your time worrying about these things? Is it going to change your life and make a difference in how you're going to treat another person? Are we going to be able to take our lives and our days and say we've got to make this day light? There's darkness. There's lots of darkness. And you know, we make the light by insight, by saying, Hashem, we're here. You bring Hashem's light. And it's hard. And for some people it's harder, and for some people it's easier, but everybody has their challenge. Every single one of us. You've got to say, you know what? It's difficult. I know. But He's giving us skill, and He's saying, just hold on. Hold on to that rope. Anybody who's ever been with me, Eretz Yisrael, and when we go to the kotel, and we go early in the morning, and I meet my beautiful special lady in the shul underneath, and she always says to me, the rope is swinging. I would do anything to get to the kotel. Anything. I've had my first vaccination, Baruch Hashem. Okay? And I said, and then 12 weeks. Are they mad? 12 weeks. I said to my doctor the other night when she called me, come quickly, you can get a vaccination. I said, is it really 12 weeks? Are we mad? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm 4 days less away from going. And then I'm thinking to myself, Joanne, what are you planning? Like, why are you thinking? Firstly, next week Mashiach can come, so you don't even have to wait those stupid 12 weeks. Secondly, we're waiting the 12 weeks just because some people say you've got to do that and have your little card. My husband says, put your card away that you don't lose it, because I lose everything. Okay, put your card away. I can't find my passport. I have to tell you, that's my next search today, is to find my passport. I was thinking, I'm sure I thought I knew where it was. Well, actually, I looked in the place where I knew it was, and it's not there. So Hashem's like having a bit of a laugh at me. I said, but we're not going to need passports with Mashiach. It's fine. Okay, but I do have to be a bit practical because just in case I need my passport to get there, and then as we land, Mashiach arrives, I've got to be a little bit practical about it, you know, and sensible. We can't rely on miracles because I'm not going to get a miracle. But our miracles are with us every single day. We've got to look for them. We've got to do them. And if we can say today that, you know, we can say today, I'm going to send you a couple of pictures. I'm going to send you a picture that I found and saw Rabbi Frisky today. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is that angelic face, you know, and that you can dance with that. And then we've got to be besimcha. And we've got to say, you know, this is what it's about because I've got to feel that in my heart, even with sadness. Of course there's sadness. Of course there's sadness. But even with that sadness, I've got to change that space. Yeah, one of my doctors said the other night, her son is desperate. I nearly phoned you for a good recipe, Samantha. Desperate for a good curry. You know, he wants to order a nice kosher good curry and he doesn't have anywhere to order it from because whatever. Okay, it's our story, right, Samantha? But there's still, you know, as we say, in the time now when people want everything, they should have had it then, and then maybe we would still have curry places, and that's what it is. But it was such an interesting thing. So I thought, great, you know what? She can order her own food from wherever she wants it, I promise you. She was supposed to leave there at 4 o'clock. It was now 7 o'clock. I said, well, who's making supper? So she said, honestly, Joanne, it's takeout. And really, my son was looking for a nice, but there's no kosher curry I can get anywhere. So he's going to have to suffer. He's decided that he's prepared to suffer getting Chinese. So there you go. Okay. And all I was just thinking was like, yeah, I know. Now I can make a nice curry, hopefully, a nice curry, and drop it off for a meal one night this week. Okay. Why? Just because we want to acknowledge and say thank you and thank Hashem for who and where they are. That's all. Okay? That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to do. And really that we should just always all be blessed to be able to find Hashem in everything we do. For those of you who didn't listen to Deborah Saunders last week, it was absolutely lovely. She's written 2 books and got a 3rd one in the pipeline. And she uses an acronym, and I've added to her acronym for her. I was looking for it. I wrote it down somewhere. But then I write my notes and then they're gone. And then I think, okay, well, hopefully Hashem will. I'm never going to read them anyway. It just like helps me write and I see something and I remember something from it. So the acronym was WATCH. And it was, what are you feeling? What's it? I can't remember anyway. Well, acknowledge what you accept what it is. Thank you. Carry on for me. Accept.
And then it was, I think it was trust.
Trust. C.
And then it was CH was together, choice.
Right. D and I'll be 2 minutes or 3. Okay. CH was choice. So I said, well, C should be choice. And then somebody asked, well, what's H? And she said, CH is choice. And I said, I want you to know something. And the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced of it. And we should put it in because you know what it is? It's Hashem.
Yeah.
And I did end off and say, you know what, my H would be Hashem. Because if we don't bring Hashem into our world with the choices, then the choices are not going to be correct. We have to have Hashem in our world when we make a choice. And that's it. So my blessing is that we bring Hashem into our world, bring Hashem into our lives, create the choices, and use and know that Hashem is helping us and guiding us in making the choices. Okay? I wish everybody a beautiful day. Oh, it's you, Dean. Dean, do you want to just mute your thing in the meantime? Thank you. We're getting all your beautiful, your boys in the back. Okay, so Emir Hashem, pleasure, pleasure, and pleasure. We should just be able to utilize it, to be able to grow, to remind ourselves that we are these flimsy little lobsters, but we grow. And as we grow, our shells will crack and we'll just become bigger flimsy lobsters that are able to continue to grow and to really build everything that we need in order to greet Mashiach very, 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 very soon.